Part 17 and the final episode of What If the Final Season of Game of Thrones was really good. So we left off right as Queen Daenerys has been murdered by Sansa Stark, hand to the Queen, right in front of the Iron Throne. So Sansa, still holding Dany's dead body, pulls the dagger out from her side and drops her at the foot of the Iron Throne. Now Tyrion, in shock at what he's just witnessed, walks into the Red Keep and locks eyes with Sansa. Without missing a beat, Sansa sits down on the Iron Throne and kicks Dany's dead body to the bottom steps of it. Now, Brienne of Tarth, Bronn of the Blackwater, and Sansa's last living relative, Bran Stark, all enter the throne room and see what Sansa has just done. Brienne, because she's a Queensguard, rushes to Dany's side to see if she can help her, but realizes that she's gone. Tyrion just looks up at Sansa and asks, "Sansa, what have you done?" And with no remorse, Sansa looks down at him and says, "She has no dragons. She brought a foreign army to our lands, and she did not know how to rule our people. But I do." Tyrion responds, "There's nothing left to rule, Sansa, but ashes and bones, and you murdered her in her chair." Sansa stands up from the Iron Throne, looks down at Tyrion and says, "You refer to me as your grace or Queen Sansa, and the chair is mine, imp." Still at Dany's side, Brienne turns to Sansa and says, "You don't deserve it." Sansa turns to her and says, "I have been tortured, ravaged, and traded like cattle, all in the name of this chair. No one deserves it more than me." Bran looks up at her and says, "Sansa, listen to your family. It can't end like this." Sansa looks down at him and says, "I have no family left. You want the throne? Walk up those steps and take it from me then." Tyrion, disgusted by this, looks up at her and says, "He can't, but I will. Bronn, Brienne, take Lady Sansa into custody." Sansa, without missing a beat, turns to Bronn and says, "Bronn of the Blackwater, kill all three of them and I'll make you Lord of Casterly Rock and Warden of the North." Tyrion turns to Bronn. Bronn turns to Tyrion and says, "I'm sorry, old friend." And he pulls out his dagger. Sansa smiles at Tyrion and says, "When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die." Suddenly, both Bronn of the Blackwater and Sansa's eyes roll back white because Bran is warging into both of them. Bran then slams his own fist into his chest, forcing both Bronn and Sansa, holding their respective daggers, to kill themselves. Bran comes to, but blood pours out of his chest as if he was stabbed, and he dies. Tyrion looks at the bodies all around him and turns to Brienne. Brienne says, "Someone has to lead us." So Tyrion reluctantly walks up the steps of the Iron Throne and sits down. And that is how we end Game of Thrones.